Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the show. And as you can tell, we are joined by a very special guest indeed. You may recognize her from the global star movie M3GAN. We are joined by Amie Donald. Amie, how are you today?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
It's such a pleasure to have you on the show. And as I mentioned to you, uh, you absolutely nailed that role as M3GAN. I could not believe, uh, sort of how big that movie has blown up globally, all over the
Yeah,
world and all over social media. How does that feel for you?
it's really crazy to me because I would have never thought that I would be playing the role of Megan, and it's gone crazy all over the internet, which I was very excited about when I first saw it, and I'm just so happy that everyone's enjoying the movie. It's fantastic.
Mhm. So I'm very interested with yourself as well. So obviously you come from sort of the I don't know, kind of make myself sound old, but like the social media sort of generation. Um, What was it like to see? I mean, there were hundreds of thousands of videos of people recreating the famous M3GAN dance. Like, how was that for you to know that kind of you started that whole trend?
I think it's so amazing that people are getting inspired by me to do their own versions of the Megan dance, and I've had so many adorable, cute little kids recreating the Megan dance and posting it on their social media and sending it to me, and I just think it's so amazing that everybody's trying it, and it's it's really cool to see everybody like chipping in to try and do the Megan dance.
It is amazing, and that's what I think. I think it's good as well because it's going to get more people. Obviously, because a big part of your life as well, prior to this movie, is dance. I know you have a big dance background, so it must be quite cool for you to be able to incorporate both hobbies and interests into sort of one movie. Um, so do you want to tell the viewers a little bit about your dance background?
Yeah, so I've been dancing ever since I was 5 years old, and I went to the Dance World Cup in Portugal in 2019, and I'm the first New Zealander to bring back any medals. I got a bronze and a silver. I won um, the international evolution and showcase, and that was really fun. And I love dancing, and it was so much fun being able to incorporate dancing into Megan because my dance teacher, she choreographed the dance, so it was so fun to work with
Oh,
her while working on Megan.
oh wow, that's something I didn't know. So again, that must be very, like, reassuring for you to know that while you're on a huge set, I imagine, like M3GAN is, to know that you kind of have some familiar faces around that could help you out. That must have been nice.
Definitely. It was so much fun working with my dance teacher and on Megan because it's just such a new experience for me because my dance teacher was the person who got me into acting. She was always telling me that
Mm.
I needed an agent and I needed to start going for roles, and she really helped me to get encouraged to actually go for it and start doing these auditions, and it was so nice to be able to work with her on Megan.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's brilliant. So as you kind of sort of mentioned, as your dance teacher sort of pushed you into not pushed, that's the that's the wrong word. As she kind of assisted you to get into acting. Um, what was the audition process like for M3GAN?
It was actually a really short audition process, which was crazy because usually it can take weeks for you to get a call back, but on Megan, we started on the Monday. I got called back in the very next day to do another self-tape, and then a couple days later, only like 2 days, they asked me if I would want to come in to meet the director and the casting agent, which I was very excited to do, and it was so nice to see Gerard. It was so fun meeting we had a great time in the audition. And then at the end of the week, I got offered the role, which was crazy because usually it can take so long for you to just get the first call back. But we had booked the role by the end of the week, which was great.
Oh my god. Well, yeah, because I've interviewed people in the past, and some people they could wait like months to hear back for callbacks to the point where they forgot they even auditioned for the role. So that obviously must have shown that the moment they saw you, and they must have been like, "This is who we want to play Megan."
Yeah. It was quite funny because when I went for the audition, I actually didn't know I was going for the role of Megan because sometimes you're doing auditions, they will make you audition for a character, but when you book the job, it might not actually be the character that they've written down in the script. So
Mhm.
when I find out until I'd actually agreed to the job that I got the role of Megan. And when me and my mum found out, we went crazy and we were with all of my family and friends. I was just so excited to actually be a part of a big movie, which was crazy.
Of course. So obviously I know I mean I can imagine for yourself sort of before you got to filming and maybe even during filming, there must have been people that you like really wanted to tell, but you had to keep things so quiet. Um, so what was the reaction of like your family and your friends who sort of after it was filmed and you were able to finally tell them, what was their reaction?
Well, so when I got the job, I didn't go to school much because I did my on-school set. I'm sorry, I didn't go to normal school much because I did my schooling on set. There we go.
Ah,
And
that's
I kind of just took a break from my real school, and then when I came back, my friends were like, "Where have you been?" And then when I told them, they were in shock, and they were so happy for me, which I'm so glad that I've got so many supportive friends and family. And when I told everyone, they were in shock, and they were so proud of me, which I loved.
Mhm. Yeah, that's something that's so important, not just for actors, but for people in general, especially young people, like to have good, positive, supportive people around you. Like all you're gonna do is excel, and that's really important thing. So that's really good to hear you have good, supportive people around you.
Yeah.
Okay, so well, let's talk about filming then. Filming for Megan. So for you, do you remember sort of the very first day on set, or maybe the first scene you filmed?
Yes, I do. The very first scene and the very first day that I got onto the set, it was the scene when we were in the forest and Megan
Oh.
chases Bran. That was the very first scene, which I was very excited to do because when I read the script, that was the scene that I wanted to do the most. And it was so much fun because when we stepped onto the set, it looked incredible
Mhm.
because it was just this big forest, and it was so much fun working with all the crew and all of the cast. It was so much fun, and that first day was amazing.
So obviously, I remember during one of those scenes, Megan has I'd say animalistic run, which is like one of the highlighted, like creepiest moments from the movie. Um, was that heavily rehearsed and choreographed, or was that a bit more free play for you? How was that for you?
So I had two movement coaches, Jed Brophy and Luke Walker, and we did a couple of weeks of training before we actually started filming on set to find Megan's character, and we would rehearse scenes and stunt scenes and everything, and it was really fun to learn how to run on all fours like an animal. And I had to do a similar thing in my audition. I can't quite remember, but I had to do a little dance in my audition, and I did I was doing some on my all fours, and that's something Gerard really liked. And so then he asked us if we could practice this because it was in the script. And then me and Luke and Jed, we'd practice it over and over again. And when we got onto the set, so happy that I was finally being able to do it on screen, which was amazing.
Absolutely. One thing that I really like about M3GAN as a there's sci-fi and horror elements to it, of course, but obviously it's primarily labeled as a horror.
Mm.
What I like is that it's still like super creepy and it has some gory elements to it, but it's not too gory, it's not too violent. Um, but there's obviously I will give spoilers because I think everyone by now should have seen it because it's gone absolutely everywhere. So there's obviously a scene where M3GAN tears off this young poor boy's ear. What was that like for you to have to film that set and then to almost throw the piece of ear away like it's nothing?
I thought it was very interesting because I've worked with prosthetics before on
Mhm.
Sweet Tooth, and
Yeah.
so seeing the whole prosthetic ear was crazy, and it was really because it was silicone. And when we
Yeah.
were doing, I remember, they'd almost plopped me in a position when you could only really see my hand, and I was kind of he was laying on a table-ish thing, and I was kind of ducking behind it so I didn't get covered in blood. But I was tuning the ear. There was kind of like a tube that ran around him, and then you could
Oh.
see the people pumping the blood to make it go through the tube. It was so funny and interesting. I loved working with all of that stuff. It was so fun. But then when I had to flick it off, because the blood is really sticky, when I was trying to so many tries because it wouldn't come off the finger and finally got it, which was amazing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess for yourself to see all the work sort of behind the scenes for the things that the viewers don't get to see, like the cape when people pumping for the blood. Um, that must be really fascinating for you to actually get to see all of that and see how much like work can go into just one scene.
Yeah, definitely. I find it's really interesting and I love learning about all of this stuff
Yeah.
because the crew put in a lot of effort and it's so nice to be able to talk with them and then create friendships with all of the crew and cast, and then they can teach you about what they are doing on the set with
Mm.
all of the prosthetics, with the costuming, with the art, everything.
Right. And I think for you at such a young age, you're going to be able to sort of learn and listen to other people's experiences and like little tips and tricks for things. And I think that that's just going to kind of help you in your career going forward because you're kind of being exposed to so much at like such a huge production at such a young age. So that must be a great moment for you to be able to learn from that.
Yeah, it was so much fun learning with everybody, and I I want to say it was very fun working with Violet on set. She's one of my best friends, and I absolutely loved working with her.
Yeah, I was actually gonna bring up Violet because obviously I'm not gonna say your age on camera, but obviously you and Violet are around the same age. Do you feel because I've heard in other interviews that you've said how you've become like really good friends. Um, do you feel for you having someone around your age maybe like made it a little bit easier for you on set?
Yes, definitely. It was really fun to meet Violet, and I remember on the first day we kind of just clicked, and then the more time we spent together, the more time we became closer. Kind of like
Yeah.
Megan and on the screen, and I love Violet. We had so many good memories on set, and it was so nice to have someone my age to work with and have fun with on set.
Yeah, that's so that's the key word in any movie is you've got to have fun. Like if you're not having fun, it just becomes like a normal boring job that no one wants to do. So Yeah, that's I'm super happy that you had someone sort of around your age to especially to share that experience with as well. Because I mean, so when you both grow old, you'll be talking about Megan that you both filmed.
Yeah.
I want to also talk about again the famous dance scene. So was that something that was always planned in the movie, do you know, or was that something that kind of just happened? And how was it sort of choreographed?
So the dance was never in the script, but the more we worked on the movie, the more Gerard was watching all of my dances, and he fell in love with the idea of Megan doing a dance. One day he came up to us and he was like, "Would you mind asking your dance teacher if she could choreograph a dance for Megan?" And then immediately we were like, "Yes." And then one day we went down to the dance studio with my dance teacher, Kylie Norris, and Gerard gave us a little list of things that he wanted to incorporate within the dance. And then me and Kylie came up with well, she came up with a lot of different ideas of what the dance could be, and Gerard, he picked his favorite one and we did it. It was so much fun.
That's awesome. So do you do uh, all or some of your own stunts, or do you do none of your stunts?
I do all of my stunts, and that was so fun to do on set. I think that was one of my biggest highlights because all of the stunt crew is very nice and they are always making sure that I'm okay, which is amazing. And just being on set and being able to do your own stunts is amazing.
Of course, and that's again, it's such an art form that um is taking a lot of time for people to sort of really talk about and appreciate, because I've spoke to previous actors who have been stuntmen in Hollywood for years, and like the things that they've done is just insane, and I can't even comprehend stunt work. So, hats off to you. I think that's a really, really impressive thing to do all of your own stunts as well.
Thank you.
Um, so with Megan, there for you there must have been a lot of costume, but mask changes as well. So what was it like wearing the mask?
They gave me a practice mask that I could use when we were rehearsing before we started filming, and the first time I put it on, it was so cool. But the only problem with the mask is that I have really limited vision, and when I'm in the mask, the more I'm breathing, it will fog up the eyes. And so we had a 30-minute time limit, and I also had signals on like how I'm doing, and then when the time was up, or if I gave a signal, we'd take the mask off, and then they'd have to wipe the eyes out. But there was so different types of masks. They had a stunt mask, which was really squishy to make sure that if anything happened, it wouldn't hurt. It would be very soft.
Yeah.
And then they had the normal mask, which looked so cool because they also had the and oh, it was so amazing. And then they had the mask with like, the scar,
Yeah, it's
the
like a scratch, yeah.
the scratch on the face, and then that was awesome because they had wires poking out of it, which was so cool, and then they had the stunt version of that mask, and it was so amazing seeing all of those masks and being able to wear it and be a part of it.
So maybe not just in terms of wearing, but if you had to choose one of those masks to be your favorite, which one would it be?
I really liked oh, I really liked the mask with the scar
Yeah,
on it because that looks so sick, and it had all of the wires poking out. It was really cool.
yeah. Because there's moments in the movie where I think because of the friendship that Megan has, you kind of almost forget she's a robot, and that really where you were like, "Whoa!" Like she's mechanical. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
So again, another question I have for you with the movie, it doesn't have to be. It could be either a movie you've seen you filmed, or just the scene you've watched as a viewer, what's your favorite scene in the movie?
I think my favorite scene, I've got 2. I really liked the scene. Oh wait, no, I've got 3. I like the dance scene. I like
Yeah.
the scene she's just got splashed with water and she's kind of like all broken walking down the hallway. And then my other favorite scene was when Megan does the explosion in the yeah, in what's that called? In the workspace. She does the
Mhm.
explosion. Cool scene to me as well.
Yeah, there's some great choices. I think if you speak to anyone that's watched the movie, that the dance scene is just so famous now. Like that's always going to be on the top of people's lists.
Yeah.
So once the movie, you sort of finished your work and the movie's out of post-production, and it's finally been aired to the public, and then you have like your red carpets and you have your like the conventions as well. What's all of that been like for someone so young in this industry?
I It's been a really amazing experience because I just being able to go to these kind of events is crazy. And when I first went onto the red carpet, I was not expecting it to be that huge. And it just felt so cool to be a part of all of that. And when I go to the conventions, everyone is so nice. And I've
Mm.
got a lot of, and I love them all. And it's so nice to and see them and it's just so amazing to be a part of M3GAN and all of this cool stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, for me, someone I've been a fan of horror for so much of my life. And I've seen these characters become like icons to people, and people get like tattoos of them and like artwork and all crazy stuff. But for me, you know, Megan's come round to the horror scene only last year. She came sort of into the scene, but she's almost like taking over. Like I've seen so many people that are like, you know, wanting to get tattoos or they're like drawing artwork or they're doing dances and how does that feel for you that you are portraying like a pioneer for horror?
I think I'm still a little bit in shock. I can't get
Yeah.
over that people really love to watch me and they think that she's so cool, which is so exciting for me. And I love all of the fan art out there because I got a painting from one of my fans and it's so amazing and I
Wow.
love so cool and I actually have seen a couple of people with the M3GAN tattoos on their arm. That's so cool.
I know. That must be surreal, like, but yeah, that's the thing, and I think it's not one of those characters where she won't be forgotten about in 5, 10 years. I think she'll be lasting for such a long time in this industry, in this space. And it's also refreshing to have, for me, to have like a female horror character as well, because it's such a like male dominated scene. So it's really cool to have that as well. Even though I know she's a robot, but we'll say she's female robot.
Yeah.
So obviously, as you mentioned before as well, this isn't kind of your first production. Um, you're in Sweet Tooth as well. Um, so what was that like?
Being in Sweet Tooth, that was a really fun experience because I had all of the prosthetics and that was quite fun. And
Hmm.
I'm very because the Sweet Tooth season 2 has just dropped like yesterday. And it's so exciting to see all of my hard work pay off on the screen. And it was so fun working on that as well. And it was just such a cool experience because I worked a lot with my puppeteers and all of that stuff. So cool.
Oh, brilliant. So do you think, so did you have a lot of prosthetic work for that as well?
I had a lot of prosthetic work for season 1, but season
Hmm.
2 wasn't as intense because for
Hmm.
season 2, monkey ears, monkey hands, and a tail. But season 1, I had In season 1, I was 3 characters, a duck, an owl, and a
Wow.
meerkat, but for all of those, it was, like, full face prosthetic. For the duck, they gave me a beak. That was really fun, and for the meerkat, I had oh, so cool.
So do you think having to work with that for the first season at least, do you think that kind of helped you with sort of work with prosthetics for Megan?
Yes, 100%. I think because I already did I was already working on Sweet Tooth, I kind of knew what to expect, even though it was quite different on M3GAN because the mask could actually come on and off. But I did have a silicone neck piece to make the mask blend in, so it wasn't like looks like a doll face and then it's like a human. So I had that, but that was the only thing that was really glued onto me, but that it
Mm.
was easy. I knew what to expect from Sweet Tooth.
Yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. That's the thing. You're able to take your experiences from different jobs and different places and be able to move them into sort of into your next future production. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, so something I'm very I think a lot of the people listening, I think they'd be very interested to I guess to get to know you a little bit more. Um, so it honestly doesn't have to be horror related or anything like that. But for you, sort of, so what are some of your personal favorite TV shows or movies, or what do you like to watch?
I love Stranger Things. That is
Yeah.
my favorite TV series. It's so cool. I love Enola Holmes as well because I
Hmm.
love the side of things. That's really cool. Wednesday was an amazing series. That was fun to watch. Can't wait for the second season. That's going to be cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ah, see, that's
Or
another thing. So you have the famous Wednesday dance as well. So you never know.
yeah,
I think I've seen some videos of people doing like a comparison between Megan and Wednesday dance.
yeah.
Who do you think would win if they had like a dance off between Megan and Wednesday?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think they've both got their pros and cons, but I do think M3GAN would win because I mean, even if she didn't, I think she might
No.
probably make herself win either way.
No.
So
Do you know what? We're gonna go with Megan will win 100% because I think Wednesday's got some other good attributes, but no one would be
yeah,
able to beat the dance like Megan.
yeah.
Um, so if you could have a dream role or to be in a dream genre, what would that be?
I really like the horror genre. I think I do kind of stick with that, but if I my dream role would be to be in Stranger Things or just a movie with Millie Bobby Brown. That would be so cool. She is my idol. I love Millie Bobby Brown. She's so cool.
Yeah, and she's super talented, but the thing is both of you are like crazy young for how big like the movies you've been in and how far your career, so there could definitely be time for you to work with Millie for sure.
That would be so cool.
So I know again we sort of touched on your dance. You started off into dance, and I know your dance teacher sort of advised you to sort of go into acting and agents. Um, was acting, and I know it was such a super young age as well, but were you even thinking about acting at that point, or was it just solely dance?
No, I thought I was gonna be like a dancer forever, and my teacher, when she was watching me dance, I had a lot of emotion in my dance moves when I was dancing because when you tell a story when you're dancing, and she said that she was kind of saying that I need to go into acting because she thinks that I could do well, and we put it off for a long time. We thought I would just stick with dancing, but I'm so glad that she kept pushing us to try it at least once because then I fell into M3GAN, and I could not imagine if I didn't do it. It was so fun working on it.
See, it seems like your teacher had such a good keen eye. Like she could see almost like what was going to happen. So we have to thank her as well because we wouldn't have M3GAN wouldn't be the same.
Definitely.
Um, obviously, I know you mentioned that Millie is someone that you sort of that inspires you. Maybe outside of acting, do you have anyone else that kind of inspires you, or anything that inspires you?
Yeah, I'm inspired by I really like puppeteers and all of that. And my
Oh,
puppeteer, we've worked 5 jobs in a row together now, and he really inspires me. His name is Paul Lewis. He is so incredible. He creates these these really cool puppets, and we visit each other and we get to play with the puppets. He's amazing, and he's just so cool.
that's awesome. You know, and it's a really refreshing answer to have actually, because we obviously hear about a lot of people that are into acting, but yeah, that's a first for puppeteers. So thank you for that. Um, so do you have obviously I know you're in the middle of doing some filming and some auditions. Do you have any like conventions coming up or any sort of fan attended events you have planned?
Yeah, I do. I've got some conventions coming up, but we're still kind of sorting out the dates on that. But it's really cool because I'm going to be going overseas more to go and do some more conventions, which is so fun.
You have to come to London, have to come to the UK.
Yeah, that's one place I have to go to.
For sure. Is there it you know, feel free if you don't if it's if you can't think of anything. Is there anything that you would really like to say to your fans or the viewers of M3GAN or any of the work you've done?
Yeah, so if you want to do something, go for it. And if you feel really passionate about something, just go for it. And it really doesn't matter if you don't do well or do really well. The main thing is that you tried. And like, it's, if you want to do something, like if you want to get into acting, know that a lot of the time you will not get jobs. And then when you do get a job, it's so nice to be able to get one, and then when you do get one, it feels so great. So don't stop trying, just keep going. If you want to do it, do it.
Well, thank you so much for those words for people. You know, you have for someone so young, you have such a wise mentality, and you're very wise. So, you know, that's a big credit to you. And I think on behalf of not just myself, but everyone listening and watching this, I think all of us are just so excited to see where your career goes from here because we can't see anything but big and positive things for you.
Thank you so much.
Amy, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I'm not sure if you're aware, I apologize for missing it. Our interview was supposed to be yesterday, but I was like,
uh,
I didn't realize. I was like, no.
it is a bit complicated with the time difference, but that's all good. It was really nice to talk with you today.